this at least so we have another. Okay, so when you give a presentation, what you want to do is, basically in a lot of cases, what you want to do is you want to have your own notes so that what to say. Maybe you have bullet points in there. You want to make sure that you cover those bullet points. Excuse me. So what you want to do is go up to View here, and then you're going to see Hide Presenter Notes. This is going to be Show Presenter Notes by default. I'm going to turn it off. This is what you'll look at when you first open up Keynote. So where do you insert your presenter notes? Let's make that a little bit smaller there. So what you want to do is go and show the presenter notes. Then you can put your notes down here. So this could be, let's go with parade. And then you can make bullet points in here about the parade. This is tulips and music parade. You could, make bullets about that and kinds of tulips, and then list the tulips there. So when you're giving the presentation, we've seen it where people are given a presentation, but they look down at a screen, to refresh them, and that's what they're doing is they're looking at the presenter notes. So that's where you add the presenter notes right in there. So now how do we've added the presenter notes, we have everything kind of set. The next thing is, I believe yes, we want to customize the presenter display. So when we are giving a presentation as a presenter, you want to show those notes. Maybe you don't have any notes, so then you just want to show the slideshow. Or maybe what you'd like to do is see what the next slide is. Or you want to have a timer on there so you know how long the thing is going on. When you're up on the quote-unquote stage or whatever, you can easily lose track of time and things like that. So when you look at your presenter notes, you can show all this kind of stuff. So you want to set this up before you give the presentation as well.
But then what if we don't want the audience to see our...
They won't. Well, that's where you have to use 2 monitors. So I should say that you'll need 2 monitors. So the presenter notes will be on one, where the presentation is going to be on the other.
Oh, there's no way of hiding the notes under...
No, I mean if it's all on one screen, you're basically what you want to do is print out the notes, and I'll show you how you can do that. It's pretty easy too. So here I have my presentation, and if I go up under, I believe, here we go, customize the presenter display. So this is where I can set how I want to display it. And let's see here, So here is what I can customize. You're going to see I have my current slide. I have the time. I have what the next slide is, so now I know what the next slide is going to be. And then this is where I can set what I want to see. So do I want to see the presenter notes? I do want to see the presenter notes. Select that, and now you can see the presenter notes. If I want to see the live video, so then I can see what I look like, you can show that. You can put a timer on there. Here, the elapsed time or the remaining time. Maybe you set this for 90 minutes and you can see what the remaining time is. So you kind of set this all up beforehand. Now that you have all of that set, your next thing would be to present. So what do you do? Well, a couple different ways you can do this. And basically you can play it in full screen or in a window. So what's the difference? Well, when we go into a window, we're going to show you that first. When I go into a window here, when I click on play, it just plays it. There's where I'm sorry, friend, I can see that, but everyone else is going to see this too. This is a window. This is showing my presenter notes because this presentation is in a separate window. So we can actually see my desktop here. This is just a separate window. So if you wanted to do that, you could, but then everyone sees what what you're looking at as well. So where would you use this? I'm actually using it for what I'm doing here. The software that I use, Ecamm, can look at my slideshow in a window. So when you're looking at this here, this presentation that's presenting your slideshow, let's see if this works here. Hopefully not upside down. So this is what I'm looking at here. You're going to see that this is in a window. And the reason why I like that is basically I can make this a little bit smaller and I can put other things down in here. I could put comments down here or monitor anything else. If I was really, really good at multitasking, I can add more in here. So there are uses for putting it in a window, but in most cases what you're going to do is play it in full screen. And when you play it in full screen, what it will do, because I have two monitors here, it's going to not really show you exactly what's going on, but basically in full screen, it's going to be the presentation. Well, actually, I can do that, right? Yeah. Play on this Mac. So there's a presentation, and I use the arrow keys to move, or the space bar. So I hit the right arrow, it goes to the next one. This one's on a timer, if you recall. So it went on its own. Use the arrow. If I use the left arrow, I can go back. So it goes back one. It doesn't use a transition when you go back a slide, but it does use a transition when you go forward. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, I say that pretty much all there is to it. A lot of times you're not sitting there in front of the computer. You might be standing up, so you want to have a remote. That's how you want to control it if you're actually given like a formal presentation. So then what do you do? Well, what you can do is use your iPhone as a remote. And the way that you do that is you download, there's a remote app from the App Store from Apple. It's a Keynote remote app. And when you go to your preferences here, there's going to be remotes. And all you have to do is turn this on, and when you start up that remote, and this isn't tied to iCloud or anything like that, so you could use pretty much any phone. Basically, when you open up that remote app, it's going to show up here, and you just say connect, and now you're able to use that phone, your phone, as a remote. So you could be up there and you can move through the slides. So you have a built-in remote just by using your iPhone. Let's see here. What else? Exporting. I believe this is getting really close to the end. So exporting it, you have a few options when you export it. What you can do to export it, you can see we have a few different options here. It really doesn't matter what you select here, because this is what's kind of interesting is when I select this, let's go ahead and select animated GIF. That's the technical, everyone calls it GIF, but apparently a couple of years ago it came out that you pronounce it as in the peanut butter GIF. So animated GIF. It goes directly to animated GIF. But you know what? I didn't want it to be an animated GIF. I meant to export it out as a movie. Just click on movie. So it doesn't matter what you select at first. You can always change it afterwards. So here's the different options that we have. And I can export it out as a PDF. I can include the presenter notes. So this is where you can view the printer notes. If you were to print this, I'll show you print here shortly. You can export it out as a PowerPoint. So it's going to translate it into or convert it into a PowerPoint document. Not everything is going to convert right, so you don't want to do this at the last minute. If you know that, if you're going somewhere and you need to, you're not sure what they're using, maybe what you want to do is call them ahead of time, see if you can't use your computer, do they have a Mac? If they don't, or maybe just create one as a backup. Should always have a backup kind of thing. A movie. This is just exports it out as a movie. So all those transitions and everything, it's just going to be a movie. So you could play it. Animated GIF, you can export them out as images. So each one of the slides is going to be an image. And then you can also export it out as HTML. So this is what if you did this, you could open it up in Safari. And if you had a web server, you could put it on the web server. I believe that's where they're going with this. My guess is not too many people use this, but you could. And then the old Keynote '09. What is it, 12 years old, 13 years ago, they switched over from Keynote '09, and they still have it. And the reason is, although I don't know if it'll still work on Monterey, but with Keynote '09 and Pages '09 and Numbers '09, those were great programs. And when Apple moved over into just the standard Pages, even though it's 12 years later, that software actually had more features. In Pages, as an example, you could do a data merge. We still can't do a data merge without using Apple script in the current version of Pages. 12 years ago, we could. So what Apple, and the reason is they made it cross-platform. So let me clarify that. Keynote '09 was Mac only, and in order to make it cross-platform, or I should say cross-device on your iPhone and your iPad, I believe what they had to do is, basically strip some of the features away so then it could work on all the devices. So some people still use Keynote '09. So Apple still has that in there to where you could convert it into a Keynote '09 if you wanted to. So that's,
Can I ask a question quick?
yeah.
So if I'm giving a talk at the conservatory in Toronto, let's say, and they only use PowerPoint, if I did this keynote presentation and then I transfer it to PowerPoint, are you saying all of those, it may not translate the way I?
It won't be exact.
Wow, that's a scary thing.
Right. That's why you want to do it. It'll be pretty good. It will be pretty good, but it's not. PowerPoint doesn't have the same themes as what Apple does. So you just want to do it ahead of time. If it's a relative, I think this is a relatively simple. I don't have PowerPoint, so I can't show you, but I think this is a relatively simple presentation, so it probably would convert all right, especially with the full images. But the live video, I don't know if PowerPoint does live video, so you have to be a little careful. You'll
will have different fonts.
good point, different fonts. Yep. So
Do you have to have PowerPoint in order to review it, or can you still? I mean, if you convert it to PowerPoint,
you should look at it in.
You can't watch it on your MacBook.
No, well, you can if you go to Microsoft.com, you can sign up for a free account for Office, a free account, and you can use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for free, but it's all online. You can't download the apps. But just like with Apple, you can go to iCloud.com and use Pages too, and it really works well. So what you would want to do is create a free account at Microsoft Office, and then export it as PowerPoint. Go into PowerPoint online using they want you to use Edge. I think Safari would work, but maybe Chrome or something like that, and upload it, and it'll be in PowerPoint. It'll be online, but it will be in PowerPoint, and you'll be able to test it all out. So, all right. So,
Hey, Dan?
Yeah.
Just a comment.
yeah.
I was going to say, as a backup, something I've done in the past is I've exported it out as a PDF.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you lose the transitions and all that. But if you end up at a place where either they can't handle your Mac or your Mac died like yours just did, you could just load it onto their PC they've got in the conference room.
Oh, yeah.
And pull up a free PDF viewer and just play it.
Yep.
Slide by slide, just as a backup.
You could also do good point. You could also do it with images, I guess, right?
And images as well, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, when I export this out as images, what it will do is it'll create an image. Well, I don't want it for each one of the builds. So if you have 5 builds on a slide, you're going to have 5 different images there. I don't even know why they have that in there. But basically, print them out as a slide, JPEG, and you're going to have, in this case here, I would have 15 different images. So you could use a PDF, which is a good point, and then you could also use the slides or the images. If you want to print them, let's go back to printing them, and you're just using one Mac. You don't have a presenter display, but you want to have your own notes. You added presenter notes, this, that, and the other. What you can do is print them. You're going to see I just have this connected to a black and white printer. If I go and change this to a color printer, it will show it in color. So that just reflects whatever printer you're hooking up to. And when you go to show details here, you're going to see we don't have a whole lot here. Where do I tell it if I want presenter notes? This, this, that, and the other. Well, if you go to show details, now when we go to Keynote, you're going to see I have all kinds of options. I can print each slide on its own. I can print them out in a grid. I can print them out in a handout. So then what people will do is be able to write their own notes on it. And then you can set how many slides per page. And if you want a copy of your own that include your presenter notes, just select that, and now you're going to see the presenter notes are there.
That's cool.
So that would be for your own. Obviously, you don't want your I mean, maybe you do, but your audience or whoever you're presenting to, I would think you would go with the handout to them without the presenter notes, and then print a copy or two for yourself that have the presenter notes. So then you can kind of see, and maybe with the presenter notes, because you don't want to flip around them so much, you could go with 4 per slide or something like that. This is in landscape mode. You can change this too, because I just had to do this. I like things in portrait. So then they're more of the portrait size as opposed to landscape. So you just go over to page attributes and change it to portrait. I click print and everything will print there. If you just want to have thumbnails, so this is what I also played around with, 15 slides. So now I can actually see all 15 of them, 15 per, so this will be 2 pages. There's my one less slide. So you can do that as well.
And if you export them as HTML, you end up with a web page?
Yeah, so I'll do that. So here's where you can save that as a PDF as well. So let's go back over to export, because I think this is the last slide. So if I go export HTML and we go next, let's just save this to my desktop. Export.
Does that replace the old Iweb?
Not necessarily, no. Iweb is a whole nother animal. Basically, all this does is build a web. It does build a website, but Iweb, you could build a blog, and you could do all kinds. Could modify and all this. When I open this up, let's see if it opens up in Safari. There's my presentation. Right now, Keynote is recording me. So right now, oops, I can start talking. You can hear me. So Tulip Time Festival is held every May. But so that's apparently I have a narration in there. But there's all the different folders and everything with it. So yeah, it prints it out as a, or like say what you could do is put this on your web server and it would be there, So you could kind of use it as Iweb. It's not really the same, but you could. So.
Just out of curiosity, this is a very easy program to use. You demonstrated it excellently. I'd love to do it. But I always search for replacement to Iweb. Do you have something that you use?
No, I'm a WordPress fanatic, so that's much a whole different level than what Iweb was. And I loved Iweb, don't get me wrong. I've heard Rapid Weaver is a good one, but look in the App Store. I think there's a couple of them. Swift Publishing, I think, that might be Rapid Weaver, but they might have something.
The problem with using the other one you mentioned, WordPress, is that they then own the content, they own the program.
Yeah, well, like I use, not to get on the web side of it, but WordPress is both open source and you can go to WordPress.com. I use the open source, so I just use Kinsta as my hosting company. I install a version of my own Word. I download an open source version, so it's me. I'm not using, it's open source, so it's.
Does the WordPress code translate?
What's that?
Is the WordPress code? Is the WordPress
WordPress?
Portable. WordPress code portable. Is it portable? Can you take it with you and
Yeah.
put it on?
Yeah, I could. Yep. With that, I can make a backup, and essentially what I've done with a few of the user groups is I created one version of a website, and I just duplicate it and I install it with another version of WordPress. Yeah, absolutely, it's yours because it's open source. You don't pay them or anything like that. So WordPress.org is where you want to go for that if you want to take a look at that. All right, so I believe that is it. I'm going to check the chat here a minute. I don't think there's too many things here. Where's my chat? No? Well, of course, yeah, it crashed on me, so I don't really have much, but yeah.
I have a question. You were showing the charts, like you said, it was like putting in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
If you create a chart in numbers, can you import it into the slideshow without any problem?
Let's find out. That's an easy test to try. So let's go with here. I'm going to delete this one, and I open up numbers. You talking about a chart or a table?
Either.
Okay, let's just copy this chart. So I copy it, Command C, and I go over to my festival, paste. Did it do it? Yep. I copied it.
Okay, now if you go back to your original in numbers and you make changes, will it update?
No,
in...
it is not linked. I know where, yes, it is not linked.
Okay.
Enjoyed this presentation very much.
Yeah. Thank you. So what I will,
See you
we'll,
next time.
we'll
we hear you.
yeah, we'll end it at this. Sorry about the little glitch. And next week I'll be having an AMA, my standard AMAs. Outside of that, look for a recording on this. Hopefully I'll have it up tomorrow. It might take me a little bit longer because of what happened. But outside of that, thanks for being patient and sticking with me after it crashed. Just had to restart the computer. And outside of that, everyone have a good weekend and go Rams.
Okay.
Right, Steve? Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
I think someone asked, our nephew plays for the Rams, Joe Noteboom. So if anybody's watching the game and they are not allegiant to the Bengals or the Rams, just root for the Rams. That's all we ask. And watch for Joe Noteboom. So
What number is he again?
he's number 70. He doesn't play all the time because he's a sub for Whitworth. So if Whitworth is playing, he's not in. Then he's like special teams and things like that. But yep. So
Have a good week. I'll be there for a good week.
yes, we are heading to Des Moines. We're going to go watch the game with family over in Des Moines. We're leaving tomorrow morning. So everyone have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week. And thanks for your support.
Thank you. Have a great time.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. You too.